Okay, back to our chair in the bush. We were talking about this. We were going through some of these chapters of Isaiah, and I see a few things on the internet that try to detract from this. It's obvious that a few people that have been pointed out don't like this, but this is the foundation of the Constitution itself, under the blessing of Almighty God. And what we see is a lot of people push the Constitution or the law without the foundations at the law. Foundations at the law. So thank you very much to everyone that's participated. I got a few SMSs in relation to what I've spoken about. Now, a doctor said thank you. He's starting to see why this was important in the first place. Why this is important to the Commonwealth of Australia. Why Australia, the United Nations nation state, is an administrator. What that flag means, why that crown's important, what those Anzac died for. Oliver said to me, why do you keep going? These people just don't want to know. You're wasting your time. It's a job that was taken on for and on behalf of all these people that are living in a lunacy, an asylum, being treated like slaves by the government of the day, being pushed to the brink of poverty by the very government that pretends, literally pretends, to do things for you. They're not. They're doing things for those international bankers and those oligarch families behind those bankers. Bankers have clients, and we all point the finger at the Rothschilds or the Rockefellers or the JP Morgans. Who are their clients? Now, I was sent a list of family names, and I'm not going to read them out on camera, but it's very easy to see who some of these clients are. They're the ones driving your economy. They're the ones pushing your big players like Clive Palmer around. Clive Palmer's beholden to all of that, trying to get his mining interests. This is evident to Clive that he was denied mining interests in his own country, and those interests were given to foreigners. Foreigners. Clive, if you ever get to hear this, why did you abandon what was shown to you to go and play that game instead? You could have, at the law, made claim, a claim that you know very, very well, unless you're party to destroying this country. Party to it. I had the shortest conversation with Clive. Clive, I need a couple of minutes of your time. And Clive said to me, I can think of two things. And I said to Clive, well, cancel the first. And Clive looked me dead in the eye and said, Richard III. And I leant over to Clive and I quietly said to him, Henry VII. And he got up from the table and disappeared. I then sat down at another table and ordered lunch and put it on Clive's bill. I sat there and I ate that lunch while I watched Clive give a speech in relation to Billy Hughes, Robert Menzies, and the history of this country. You know what's going on, Clive, yet you entertain what is evil. Evil. You put together a political party, you use the Anzac flag through Craig Kelly and Rodney Cullerton, you disgraced the very foundations of those Anzac in front of the entire country. Craig Kelly went on to go and push that red flag into politics when it has nothing to do with politics. Nothing. It's about the defence of the land, while you all serve foreign admiralty. Foreign admiralty. Craig Kelly, you are a disgrace for doing that. It's as bad as Pauline Hanson wearing a Zionist scarf on the Senate floor. Both of these things demonstrate very clearly that you're outside of section 44.2 of that very constitution. Both of you. This then demonstrates very clearly that all of you are outside of section 44.2 in obedience, adherence or allegiance to foreign interests over and above the interests laid down in that introductory text, whereas the people of the states agreed to unite in one indissoluble federal Commonwealth of Australia under the Great Seal of the Commonwealth of Australia, not the Great Seal of Australia, under the blessing of Almighty God, under the kingdom hereby established, under the Constitution hereby established. And you disregarded that, Clive. To everyone else, what that means is that these people with money know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing, undermining the foundations that your Anzac forged in a country, in international law. This might be why you see international humanitarian law brought up all the time, because these occupiers have captive you. They are your captors at law. What that means is that you have a right of self-determination to return back to what you were instead of being administered by them. Now, we continue on with this. We went through 5 and 6 yesterday, so we'll start on chapter 7. And it came to pass in the days of Ahaz, the son of Jotham, the son of Uzziah, king of Judah, that Rezin, the king of Syria, and Pekah, the son of Remaliah, king of Israel, went up toward Jerusalem to war against it, but could not prevail against it. Left hand, right hand, right hand, left hand. So Jerusalem must be something centered if the left hand and the right hand went up to war against it. And it was told the house of David, saying, Syria is confederate with Ephraim. And his heart was moved, and the heart of his people, as the trees of wood are moved with the wind. Then said the Lord, all caps, unto Isaiah, Go forth now to meet Ahaz, thou and Shear-Jashub, thy son, at the end of the conduit of the upper pool in the highway of the fuller's field, and say unto him, Take heed, and be quiet, fear not, neither be faint-hearted, for the two tails of these smoking firebrands, for the fierce anger of Rezin with Syria and the son of Remaliah. Because Syria, Ephraim, and the son of Remaliah have taken evil counsel against thee, saying, Let us go against Judah and vex it, and let us make breach therein for us, and set a king in the midst of it, even the son of Tabiel. Now, some of these words are in slanted text. They kind of point out something. Evenly, in pairs. Thus saith the Lord God. Now this is interesting because now we have capital L lowercase o-r-d, but all caps G-O-D. Thus saith the Lord God. So this must be the thing that gives the blessing because of the Lord, all caps, of hosts. They are two separate things. It shall not stand, neither shall it come to pass. So an administration can't stand as the de jure, it is the de facto. It's the one you've got because you won't do anything else. That's the basic sum of being de facto. For the head of Syria is Damascus, and the head of Damascus is Rezin, and within 65 years shall Ephraim be broken, that it not be a people. And the head of Ephraim is Samaria, and the head of Samaria is Remaliah's son. If you will not believe, surely ye shall not be established. Moreover, the Lord, all caps, spake again unto Ahaz, saying, Ask thee a sign of the Lord thy God, all caps L-O-R-D, G lowercase o-d. Ask thee a sign of the Lord thy God, ask it either in the depth or in the height above. But Ahaz said, I will not ask, neither will I tempt the Lord, all caps. And he said, Hear now, O house of David, is it a small thing for you to weary men? But will ye weary my God also? Weary men, oppress them, drive them into some sort of bondage, slavery, debt, moneylender, etc. Therefore the Lord himself shall give you a sign. Behold, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel, I-double-M, whereas the New Testament says E-double-M, Emmanuel. After he was then circumcised, he was renamed Jesus, all caps. Butter and honey shall he eat, that he may know to refuse evil and choose the good. Now, the evil we've kind of discussed already, in that you serve a moneylender and you hate each other and you try and be better than each other, and your egos can't be put to the background for the truth. And we still see this today in these influencers and internet heroes. For before the child shall know to refuse the evil and choose the good, the land that thou abhorrest shall be forsaken of both her kings, abandoned, abhorrent, hated. The land that thou abhorrest shall be forsaken. We all hate the administrator. We'll abandon it. When you realise that pedo king and his pedo mates are sitting in the background preaching a foreign faith, you'll also realise that he's not in his duty. Now, RAR soldiers have the motto, duty first. So is this their duty? To uphold the boundary so that that government could be on the shoulder of them? What happens when they serve the government of the day and the public servants become their masters? Are they in command, or is some foreign executive branch of government now in command? The Lord shall bring upon thee, all caps, and upon thy people, and upon thy father's house, days that have not come. From the day that Ephraim departed from Judah, even the king of Assyria. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord, all caps, shall hiss for the fly that is the uttermost part of the rivers of Egypt, and for the bee that is in the land of Assyria. And they shall come and shall rest of them in the desolate valleys, and in the holes of the rocks, and upon all thorns, and upon all bushes. They will realise they have no true line of authority in the Constitution, meaning that they do serve a foreign power under Section 44. In the desolate valleys, the ones they created with their credit system. In the same day shall the Lord, lowercase, shave with a razor that is hired. All men are worthy of their hire, aren't they? Namely, by them beyond the river, by the king of Assyria, the head and the hair of the feet, and it shall also consume the beard. This is a double meaning, because we are told that the people are the hairs on the head, the allegiance of all the many hairs, like the sands in the hourglass. These are the days of our lives, right? Living. And it shall come to pass in that day that a man shall nourish a cow and 2 sheep. A cow and 2 sheep. So we have some sort of farming going on in an estate. It's relative to that because in the old days you all used to farm, produce. Now you all live in your cells, your homes, and are treated like prisoners to your cells, where they can lock you down and poison you. And it shall come to pass for the abundance of milk that they shall give, he shall eat butter. For butter and honey shall every one eat that is left in the land. Now John came eating locusts and honey. Honey represents the word, scripture. Honey represents something that's sweet to taste, but bitter to swallow. Are these words here hard to hear, hard to stomach? Are these words sweet words that are difficult for you to come to terms with? A foreign power is a difficult thing to realise, isn't it? That you've been serving foreign interests over and above your own father's house. We have that story of Esau forgiving his inheritance, lineage, ancestry. And it shall come to pass in that day that every place shall be where there were 1,000 vines at 1,000 silverlings, it shall even be for briars and thorns. We're doing something here that involves some sort of creation. That creation sees the good and the evil put down on it. The evil is later pulled out. That's why we grow our wheat or our produce along with all the weeds, because later we can identify the weeds and pull them out. With arrows and with bows shall men come thither, because all the land shall become briars and thorns. You haven't grown up yet. We recognise a foreign interest in the land, which is the evil doer, the briar and the thorn. All their players, like Pauline Hanson, the thorn in the side of your father's house, like Craig Kelly mocking your Anzac, a thorn in your father's house. And on all the hills that shall be digged with the mattock, there shall not come thither the fear of briars and thorns, but it shall be for sending forth of oxen and for the treading of lesser cattle. Right, phone's going to run out of batteries, so we'll have to come back. What we have here is this realization that they are a foreign power, that they do serve foreign gods, that they aren't in the lineage of your forefathers, that they serve a moneylender, that they are the briars and thorns. And when we use a mattock to lay down the land, we can identify who they are and later deal with that problem. But to deal with that problem, all of you as oxen and lesser cattle need to stand up and tread that land. You need to occupy it. You need to remove yourselves from your dead legal fiction and your dependence on a credit supply, right? Remember that whole entire sovereign citizenship that they pushed around because someone stood up and raised a flag in 50 towns and all major capital cities? Why don't you act like that anymore? Why did you take it upon yourselves to think that you could be better than that? Try and mimic it and copy it, and at the same time forsake it, abandon it. It's been 5 years now, and you returned back to milling in the internet, trying to stroke your own ego to be the hero that saved everyone when no one was going to save you. You had to save yourselves. And in 2020, when you raised that flag on Australia Day, the last Friday of July, you did so in massive numbers, so big that it was mentioned by fixated persons on the courtroom record. Do you think they feared the fact that you had awoken? Then why did you go back to sleep? That's the question here. Why did you go back to slumber instead of standing up for yourselves and finally realizing? That was before the lockdowns, and the lockdowns came as you started to raise that flag. Do you think the two might be involved with each other? Do you think they had to lock you down? Do you think they had to poison you because you started to wake up? And then once that thumb came pushing down on you by the states, they committed war crimes against you, but you got so fearful, right? And we talked about not fearing the thorns, not fearing the evil doers, and establishing who you are. Isn't that what you did on that last Friday of July 2020? Isn't that what you all did together? Wasn't that the beginning of your awakening? So my question is really, why did you return to being woke, not awake? You still got sleep in your eyes, trying to wipe it out because you can't see the truth. You got an ego that you need to get rid of before you can really truly honor your ancestors. That's what I don't understand. You were well on your path to actually doing something about it and then abandoned it. And two of you, Melbourne and Perth, decided to take it for your own, profit from it, try and steal it, and one of you went on to try and become a senator because of that pension, right? I'll get them to feed me all the cash so that I can pay for my Senate vote, which you didn't get, in the bid to make a long-term living off a foreign power instead of honouring who you were. That's the disgrace that came out of it. You didn't hold the line. You didn't stand in the field and say, we are who we are. We live in the lineage of our forefathers. We know that you're a thorn in our side. We'll deal with the thorns later. Now, if you watch my video Policy, it's very easy to see that those police officers owe their allegiance to something that is not that occupier. This would mean that your defence force technically owes its allegiance to something that is not that occupier. So why do they take some sort of allegiance outside of their oath? Outside of their oath? Especially the police, who don't take an oath specifically to a named sovereign. They take an oath to the sovereign at law. You all stood up for that in 2020, and now you're all scrambling around wondering what to do again in 2025. Maybe you should wake up to the fact that they attacked you multiple times, 3 times at the King's Domain in Melbourne, locked you down, poisoned you since then. And in 2019, you were very clearly warned, if you didn't stand up, that would happen to you. And now it's happened. The Pope's gone home, Israel's at war, and you're all back to being woke. So after I charge the phone, we'll come back to chapter 8.
Shame! 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 Shame!
Housing affordability has sunk to its lowest level in 3 decades.
You are the worst government we've ever seen.
The Australian dream is about people owning houses.
I've never seen a situation in housing like we're seeing today.
Australia's housing crisis will likely get worse before it gets better.
There's a country right now that should be the richest place on earth. I'm talking about a place with more valuable stuff buried underneath than Saudi Arabia has oil. A place that could have been the Singapore of the Pacific. A place that had everything going for it. And they're facing some serious economic headwinds.
Our rent went up yesterday by 35%.
Life in Australia right now is just so much freaking harder than it was even 2-3 years ago.
Look, I can summarise it this way. In this country, 2 people on good jobs can't afford to buy a home.
We're talking about trillions of dollars in natural resources, perfect location next to the world's biggest economies, stable government, smart people, great universities. But here's the kicker. While everyone was busy making money, nobody was paying attention to the structural problems building underneath it all. And now, those problems are becoming impossible to ignore. I'm talking about Australia. And what's happening there should be a wake-up call for everyone, because if it can happen to them, it can happen anywhere. I'm talking about mounting economic challenges that nobody wants to talk about. While everyone's watching TikTok and arguing about politics, an entire nation is quietly struggling with some serious structural issues.
Holy crap. There's ice on the car, it's that cold. You can see it glistening in the sun there. Alright, we're back, and it must be about -2. It is freezing. Freezing cold. The sun's just peeked over the horizon. Not quite up yet. Let's continue from yesterday. So we got past chapter 7 yesterday. And before I start today, second half of this video, Jody Lowe, are you insane? I had a look at your profile and I had a look at some of your videos, and you've just taken some of my work and thought you could hero-tard it and get it wrong. Get it wrong. Terra Australis common law crap. You don't know who you are as a people. You literally don't know what's going on. It's like the insanity of the asylum starting to scream because everything's changing. You deserve it. 18 years of doing this, and all anybody ever wants to do is take my work for themselves. And in doing that, you don't comprehend it. You go and create things that are not you to try and beat the system instead of be self-determined people going back to who you are. Common law bullshit. Really had enough of this lunacy. Really had enough of watching people think that they're better than. Well, I can do it better than Steve. Well, go ahead then and prove that you're a tard, a literal idiot. I don't know what to say. You're uneducated. You're simpletons. You're literally simpletons. Don't understand where you're going. Don't understand where you've been. Don't understand who you are. Don't understand who you were. How are you supposed to defend it? Lest ye forget was a warning. You forgot. Now you're scrambling to try and figure out what it is by creating all these stupid things like Commonwealth custodians, like Terra Australis state assemblies, like common law groups, like common law sheriffs. I really think you live in a lunatic asylum. I really do. You're not willing to actually listen to what's going on. You just want to copy the little tidbits that will make you the egotistical hero. Time will tell. You're the idiot. Literally are. So we went through chapter 7, and you're starting to understand now just through 7 chapters. Now, I had a couple of good phone calls, like I said, in the previous half. A couple of people clicked. Oh, right. That's what's going on. Right? And you think about the fact that Royal Australian Regiment soldiers pulled me aside and said, what are you speaking about? And I sat down and I showed them things I will never show you. And they looked at me and went, oh my God. Literally, oh my God. You're right. Yes, I am. I've been right for a very long time. And instead of any of you paying attention to what was right, you all take from me for your own benefit instead of the benefit of our people. Our people. Now, Royal Australian Regiment soldiers defend something, and it comes from some sort of royalty, not some Terra Australis stupid crap, not some Commonwealth custodian stupid crap. There's a reason you're a country in the first place. So let's move on to chapter 8. Chapter 8. Moreover, the Lord, all caps, said unto me, take thee a great roll and write in it with a man's pen concerning Maha Shalal Hashbaz. And I took unto me faithful witnesses to record with a pen, a great roll and a man's pen to record. That must mean some sort of creation is happening if I'm instructed to take a pen and record Uriah the priest and Zechariah the son of Jeberechiah. And I went unto the prophetess, and she conceived and bare a son. Then said the Lord, all caps, to me, call his name Maha-Shalal-Hash-Baz. For before the child shall have knowledge to cry, my father and my mother, the riches of Damascus and the spoil of Samaria, shall be taken away before the king of Assyria. Taken away. The Lord, all caps, spake also unto me again, saying, forasmuch as this people refuseth the waters of Shiloah, that go softly and rejoice in Rezin and Remaliah's son, the confederacy we talked about. You all enjoyed in the moneylender, the occupier, the peacekeeping, 80 years of peacekeeping on your soil that you believed in, the golden calf you're trying to save, not realizing that it's the very thing destroying you. Now therefore, behold, the Lord bringeth up them the waters of the river, strong and many, even the king of Assyria, and all his glory, and he shall come up over all his channels and go over all his banks. Would this be some sort of flood occurring with a pen? Interesting that, right? Given that I've already demonstrated to you in the past what that actually means. And he shall pass through Judah. He shall overflow and go over. He shall reach even to the neck, and the stretching out of his wings shall fill the breadth of thy land, O Emmanuel, I-double-M, whereas the New Testament says E-double-M. Associate yourselves, O ye people, and you shall be broken into pieces, and give ear, all ye of far countries. Gird yourselves, and ye shall be broken into pieces. Gird yourselves, and ye shall be broken into pieces. So it says that twice. It says, all ye of far countries, gird yourselves, and ye shall be broken into pieces. Gird yourselves, and ye shall be broken into pieces. Lest ye forget how to unite, and what for. And what for? It's not Commonwealth custodians. It's not Terra Australis state assemblies. It's not your common law bullshit, is it? Lest ye forgot. Well, you totally forgot, because you scramble around like tards trying to figure it out. We've been standing here for 18 years since walking into a courtroom and telling a judge in the Northern Territory to shut up and identify himself. Identify himself. So you're being ruled by criminals, and instead of standing up in the capacity that you were given by your forefathers, you instead try to create all these stupid things like Commonwealth custodians and Terra Australis wanky wanks. Right? This is serious stuff, given that royalty might take a place here, that some sort of claim in God might take a place here. Take counsel together, and it shall come to naught. Speak the word, and it shall not stand. For God is with us. For God is with us. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy... Yeah, fuck that. We'll go and create Commonwealth custodians and charge people membership and rip everyone off, lie to them, con them, and make bank. Isn't that right, Dawn? Then you'll despise your foundations and go and try and join the Senate with the bank that you made. For the Lord, all caps, spake thus to me with a strong hand, and instructed me that I should not walk in the way of this people. Instructed me that I should not walk in the way of this people, saying, say ye not a confederacy to all them to whom this people shall say. A confederacy, neither fear ye their fear, nor be afraid. So the scripture told me not to fear the moneylender, not to fear the administration called the Australian government. It gave me standing in the matter, where Commonwealth custodians or Terra Australis wank wank or common law bullshit has no standing. It's deluded lord-harding, isn't it? Because you don't know what's going on. Right, Jason, a real Royal Australian soldier, tried to point out to someone playing this game, what are you doing? You're not royal. You have no royalty in you. What do you do for a job? And the guy said, well, I'm an electrician. You're a bogan, mate. Trying to figure things out because of the poverty that you got pushed into. Right? And we can publish a short little couple of clips here.
Australia has a really big problem, and that problem is that the rents are rising so high.
National rents have increased by over 30% from just under $400 a week to now sitting at $500 per week.
Would you pay $810 a week for this view?
My landlord came to visit after giving us a $350 per week rental increase.
I currently live in a Meriton and our rent went up yesterday by 35%.
Did you know that 300,000 Queenslanders are at risk currently of becoming homeless?
Has anyone seen that? If you haven't seen it, this is the live total Australian credit debt clock. That is total household debt. Now, it's only a snippet, but look how fast it's going up. $3 trillion debt. That's household debt. And that's actually the government debt. Now, the other thing I really want to stress here is that wages will not go up that much. And the only way for your wage to go up is to have a secondary income.
Australia has a really big problem. And that problem is that the rents are rising so high, so fast, that it's exceeding people's incomes. I'm getting a lot of comments about, I've been told that, or one comment I got yesterday was that she had been told that her income to rent ratio was 52%, and sorry, no can do, no house. So what are people supposed to do? You know? And I think one of the big problems that's happening is that you may live in a home and you might have moved in there when it was $400 a week, say, and then over the last 3 years you've had rent increase, and now you're paying $700 a week, and now you've got to move. When you do move, now you're being assessed, whereas you weren't before. So each time you get a rent increase, they don't reassess your income then, they just put the rent up. So you could have 3 or 4 price rises or rent rises before you actually have to go through and be assessed again on the income that you earn. So they say you can't afford it. So then what? There's no options. There's no options for people. If you're on disability, you can have, more people in the home to try and bring the income up. Guarantors, people are getting guarantors to go onto the lease with them. Their income is then added to that pile or income for that house. You might be on two leases, and that doesn't matter so long as the income shows that on that one property you can afford it. That's all they want. You are legally responsible for that house. They can come for you for the money. So if you're in a position where you really don't earn enough money, and you don't have any family, and you don't have any friends, and you don't have any other option, and it's a 15 million year wait list for social housing, what happens? What happens?
In relation to that poverty, right? You're being pushed out because you're a bunch of tards. You haven't figured this out. You try and mimic everything that I do. Try and use it for your own gain half the time. And look what it's cost you. Your homes. Your literal homes. Your rentals because you can't afford homes. Interesting that, right? Sanctify the Lord of hosts, all caps, himself, and let him be your fear, and let him be your dread. Not the confederacy, not the Rothschilds United banking cartel. Let your ancestors speak for you. And they can't do that in Terra Australis Wank Wank or Commonwealth Custodians or any number of these try-hard copycats that keep popping up, like this Jody Lowe. And he shall be for a sanctuary, but for a stone of stumbling, and for a rock of offence to both the houses of the sun, the moon, and the stars, aka Israel, because this book was written before the nation-state of Israel existed in 1948. We already discussed what your Anzac did. For a gin and for a snare to the inhabitants of Jerusalem. Wake up. You have standing in your ancestors, not in all this stupid stuff you want to create because you're Delulu. Delulu. And many among them shall stumble and fall and be broken and be snared and be taken captive. Be taken captive and ruled over by the government of the day instead of having them as public servants. They'll go and create all these stupid things and they will stumble and fall and be broken and be snared and be taken for a ride because they're Delulu. Bind up the testimony, seal the law among my disciples. Would that be the foundations of law that were defined in the Treaty of Versailles 1919? Would that be all these things that are in your history that you try and law-tard your way out with? But I'm just an electrician. Exactly. Exactly. And I will wait upon the Lord, all caps, that hideth his face from the house of Jacob, and I will look for him, hideth his face from. We don't want to know you. You're a bunch of disloyal tards that try and create all these other things that will cause you to stumble, fall, be broken, be snared, and be taken. So have you been snared by Commonwealth custodians and given up some of your bank for that instead? I just don't understand it. Behold, I and the children whom the Lord, all caps, hath given me are for signs and for wonders in Israel from the Lord, all caps, of hosts, which dwelleth in Mount Zion, which dwelleth in the king's domain. Oh, we're not a kingdom. Why do you have a king's domain? Why did the police attack you on holy ground? Why were you shot at with non-lethal weapons? Why did your own countrymen turn against you? Why were you attacked by your brothers? Interesting, right? Those police feel shamed because of what they did on holy ground. And we can prove that. And when they shall say unto you, seek unto them, and have familiar spirits, and unto wizards that peep and that mutter, should not a people seek unto their God? For the living to be to the dead. I'll repeat that. And when they shall say unto you, seek unto them that have familiar spirits, and unto wizards that peep and that mutter, should not a people seek unto their God? For the living to the dead? To the dead, like Penny Wong said in the Citizenship Estimates report. Are we talking about the dead legal fiction? I'll be back. So cold the smoke detector went off. That's a bit bizarre. Must be about 0 degrees. I can feel it in my fingers. Should not a people seek unto their God, ? For the living to the dead? Your ancestors, our fathers who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Not some stupid God. Who you are as a people. To the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them. They're Delulu. Light, truth. There is no truth in them. They mock it, mimic it, try and take the little tidbits for their own little satisfaction. To the law, you know, judges, the judicature, the Justice Department, and to the testimony. What testimony? The one you made up in your Commonwealth custodians or your Terra Australis wank wank or your common law groups that get people in trouble every single day. We could say something about these common law idiots. They don't know what's common law. They don't know who they are to have standing in that common law. They act like it's something they made up. When they sit before a judge, they get slapped. They cause so many people to get into trouble with the judicial system. Oh, why don't you go and try this for us? Instead of trying it for ourselves, we'll coach you to try it. Oh, did you fail? Oh, it must be because you did something wrong, not what I taught you. I just shake my head sometimes at the lunacy that this country became. Instead of addressing the reality of what's going on, you make it up. You literally make it up. And they shall pass through it, hardly bestead and hungry. And it shall come to pass that when they shall be hungry, they shall fret themselves and curse their king and their God and look upward. And they shall look unto the earth and behold trouble and darkness, dimness of anguish, and they shall be driven to darkness. Driven to darkness. Oh, common law groups will help you out. Get out of a fine groups will help you out. Terra Australis wank wank group will help you out. Commonwealth custodians will help you out. Matthew will help you out in Melbourne. Rodney will help you out by trying to steal everything that I did. It's dumb. It's completely dumb as fuck. I just don't know how you can continue your Delulu. You're Delulu. You're deluded. Delusional. A lunatic asylum. Continuing the same crap time and time again. You don't know what's going on. You can't put your finger down on it. You can't demonstrate who your ancestors were. You can't stand in what they gave you. You can't stand under a true king. You can't stand up for yourselves as countrymen. You can't charge these public servants for being outside of their oath. You can't charge these public servants for war crimes. You can't deal with these people for the war criminals that they are. You have to go and vote for them. Like Pauline and a Zionist scarf. Let's go create some more genocide on behalf of the bank we owe. Let's go murder some more people in other lands for the bank we owe. The Reserve Bank. Right? The Bank of International Settlements is going to clear that all up, right? So that's chapter 8. We'll go on to chapter 9 and chapter 10 in the next video. But I'm just gobsmacked that this picture doesn't smack you in the face. You ignore what your Anzac were. You ignore what they founded. You ignore the foundations of these things. You ignore your soldiers. You ignore everything to play this deluded game all the time. Like little reporters on YouTube. Oh, I'm going to go and share all my Lortard knowledge. Yay! I'll trap everyone into being my audience and spread the bullshit around. Yay! And then years later, nothing. I'll take from him and take from him and take from him and act like I'm the one that did it all. Did you? I'll interview this person and that person and I'll drag every ignorant Delulu before my camera and try and whine my way out of it. Whiny, 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 Elbow did this. Whiny, 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 Scott Morrison did this. And in 2020, like we said in the first half, you stood up. You said, I honour my Anzac. I'll raise this red flag and name a king of my people. I'll consecrate this flag with God in the scripture and rise a flag before all nations. You did some of these things of your own hand together. You played bugle in Brisbane. You had the police step back from you and honour you in Melbourne. These are acts of self-determination. This is showing an administrator that you're willing to return home and start to work towards self-determination. And then Dawn ran off to become a senator with all your money in the Commonwealth Custodians group. And then Matthew went and tried to copy it and tried to be something he couldn't be. And then Rodney and Wayne came along and tried to steal it. You're Delulu. Literally Delulu. When you could have actually acted like countrymen and stood up for each other and not fought the police and not played stupid games in the public arena, right? And not run into trouble. And stopped attending these childish protests. And stopped running around all the cities, getting shot with non-lethal weapons and gas canisters and tear gas and all that kind of stuff. These things really happened to you because you chose not to follow your forefathers. You chose instead to tanty the streets like little children. And where did that get you? You can't afford a home, you can't afford your rent, you can't afford your food, you can't afford anything. Because you're still relying, tofu field, is lying to you on the media right now in relation to the 5 collapses of the country. He doesn't seem to understand that you once owned Telecom Australia and it was privatised and put under administration because you failed to prop it up with your own money. What do you think a reserve bank is, tofu? It's borrowed money. What do you think a bonds market is, tofu? It's where they put you up for human slavery to pay off the privatised assets. What happens when your privatised assets run out? And administration comes to an end and they want to nationalise things. What they mean is the bank wants all your stuff. You can't afford it anymore. It went out of privatisation into someone else's hands. You went from owning it to having it privatised and put under administration to having it taken off you. What do you think all your coal mines and all your coal-powered electrical stations, power stations closing down meant? What do you think baseload power turning into something else meant? What do you think the Australian dollar collapsing on a world stage actually meant while you try and save that Australian dollar? You were put under administration back in 1967. 1967. And Madison wants to change the Constitution without addressing the problems that you were put in 1967. They shall not be counted because they were sovereign Aboriginal tribes. Let's bring them into the Constitution. Let's use them to undermine the Constitution. Let's wipe their history away from them. Let's destroy their Aboriginal sites. Let's mine their lands. Let's put resorts on their lands. Let's make them all the cleaners of the toilets. Bad for Aboriginal people. You don't know what you're talking about, Madison. But I've got a degree and I've written 2 books. Doesn't mean you know what's going on, love. Doesn't mean a thing in relation to the foundations of your country and your own sovereignty for that matter. Sad case of affairs, you all find yourselves in this Delulu land. And it really is a Delulu land when you've got people like Jody Lowe continuing to copy and mimic things like the latest hero. Yay, the latest hero. Let's all listen to Jody spout some bullshit. Never ends. Because you're not willing to recognise where you came from. Not willing to recognise what the foundation of a constitution is. You're not willing to recognise what defending that actually is. So maybe it's time to start learning. Maybe it's time to start honouring again like you did in 2020 when you raised that flag in 50 towns and 9 major capital cities. Right? All 6 capitals and 3 other major towns. You did that. That actually scared the established authority because it was true to the matter. Then you returned back to your Delulu because that was too slow for you. You weren't willing to progress in your own standing. I don't know what to say anymore. We'll just keep reading through this and hope that more of you snap the fuck out of it. Oh, as the sun starts to peek its head over the trees, it starts to take a little bit of the cold away, but geez, it's still cold. So that's another episode. Again, thank you for all the donations. Jump down to the link below and participate. We're not selling anything. We're giving everything away for free because it's a duty to our ancestors. But we can't do this without your support. So Bitcoin, bank, etc. Now, you need to stop relying on the Reserve Bank. It's the very reason your country went into $1.3 trillion government debt and $3.6 trillion household debt. That must mean you're all living on a credit card. That must mean you're all living on bank loans, pay off your homes. What happens when you can't furnish the loan and the bank comes along and closes down and takes your home away from you? What will you do then? You could have rose and spoke up against an administrative government because it was full of war criminals. Real world poison you war criminals, like in a Nuremberg offence. So if you want to progress there, then we need your help down below, support, and we need your evidence. You need to grow up and snap the hell out of this stupid common law bullshit and realise you've been conned by Albo, by Scott Morrison, by every Attorney General going back to Gough Whitlam, by a bunch of pedophiles in that parliament that they won't name, because if they did name them, you'd know what was up. Now, it can be confirmed that Bob Hawke was one of those names. What about the others? That's almost 30 of them that they refuse to name. Does this demonstrate to you very clearly that Albo never served you? Albo serves some sort of banking cartel? Some sort of banking cartel that commits atrocities in multiple countries around the world? Does this give you reason for why you went into Iraq, Afghanistan? Would this give you reason as to why you went into Vietnam after a Tonkin affair? The Bay of Tonkin. Does this demonstrate to you you don't know much about who you are, where you came from, and what the hell's going on around you? Does this demonstrate to you that continuing to create all these stupid groups because you think you're the hero is making you look like an idiot? Wayne Glue must feel like a big idiot today. Do you want to join the likes of Wayne Glue? I just don't get it. You had every opportunity to stand up in 2020, and instead, I'm going to be the leader of a bunch of tards. That's what you all did. You didn't look at your own affairs. You didn't look at the money that you were told to look at. You didn't start to think about your own homes. You kept down your stupid path. And look where that brought you in 2025. This country's about to collapse. And when it collapses, no one's coming to help you. They're going to turn the military against you because you're going to tanty like retarded little children. Look at what Trumpy boy's doing right now, becoming the new Hitler. Do you feel sorry for that fake Channel 9 news reporter? I don't. She got what she deserved after faking a COVID mask story in 2020. They tried to attack you because a certain Brett rang that media and told that media that you were having a mask protest. Does it seem relevant to you today that people are selling you out for their own ego? Does it seem relevant to you that all these stupid groups pop up and charge you money and make all these promises they can't hold? We don't ask you for money in the sense of giving you something or selling you something or asking you to join some sort of association. We teach you who you are. We give everything out to you for free. And from that, you decide if you want to donate. If you can't afford to, then don't. If you can, it's going to help us charge these people with serious international war crimes like forced medical procedure. Does that sort of sink in for you after all these years of watching you faff around and pretend like little children in a lunatic asylum? So until the next episode, check out the links below, and if you can afford it, drop a donation in, because it will help us speak more. It will help us rise and eventually maybe charge these people with the offences they've committed.